Africa is home to some of the finest sports talents in the world. Yet it seems as though Africa exports more talents than they are able to develop locally. Well, this morning we're having a conversation around this, and we're talking sports and youth development. And our guest is Chizoba Ani. He is a sports manager. He's in studio to do justice to this topic. Good morning, Chizoba, and thank you for joining us this morning on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start from the basics.
Okay.
Sports, we understand. Youth, the word youth, of course, we definitely understand.
Yeah.
When it comes to sports and youth development, what exactly does that mean?
Well, I think it's like using sports to develop youth, to give youth a chance at life. I think that's the basic definition of sports development, sports and youth development.
Okay, so tying the two together to use one to develop
the other,
to be able to contribute meaningfully to the society.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. In my introduction, I said something. I said that we are very good.
Sure.
At exporting these, talents. Be it boxing, be it UFC, the
football,
Anthony Joshua,
athletes.
The Adesanya. Football, of course, I can't even begin to count those ones. Basketball. No, we have these talents, most of them, born in Africa, but at some point in their career, they had to move over. Why do you think that trend persists and subsists? Why can't we develop our youth locally and get them to, stay and, contribute locally?
Well, I think the whole thing boils down to our governments, the lack of infrastructure to help develop these talents, and then I'll put part of the blame as well on the media, lack of proper media coverage on these sports, because at the end of the day, you need the media to help sell the talent, because if the media is not talking about it, then there is no way the money is going to come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you said two different agencies, media, government.
Yes.
You said lack of infrastructure. Can you throw more light?
Okay, let's use sport, boxing for example. Boxing is a kind of sport that have this low coverage when it comes to Nigeria, except maybe occasionally whenever you hear people like Anthony Joshua, when they have a major boxing tournament, that's when you hear the hype about it. But then, how many boxing field or stadia is around here in Enugu? Let's use Enugu as an example. How many is here in Enugu? I think you have maybe you see it whenever there is any hostel or restaurant that wants to just do any fun boxing competition. That's when you begin to see all things like that. But then, is there any boxing competition going on here in Enugu to like help boost those that are interested in boxing? Now let's move over to football, which is even more popular. How many proper football competition is going on here in Enugu that can actually sell our talents to locally? So these are the things that we need to put in place, and we can't do that without the government coming in and then the media covering this event, because there are so many local competition going on, but then is the media talking about it? Because if the media is not talking about it, there is no way the common man will know that this competition is going on. And if that common man is not aware, there is no way there is going to be a hype around it, and there is no way companies are going to sponsor that local competition. If the companies don't sponsor that local competition, then how is the money going to come in?
Okay, so there's another agency that you have mentioned. You mentioned government. We'll get to that too. Okay. Media, and then you're talking about companies, businesses. What do you mean by companies?
Corporate businesses.
Corporate businesses, government, the media, corporate businesses.
Yep.
In all this, is there any role of the normal common person like you and I? Do we have roles to play? Because I'm thinking that for government to take interest, there must be some sort of stimulation. Media goes where the news is. If there is no buzz, it might be difficult to attract the media. So is there any role that people like you and I, assuming you have a brother that is good with street fighting, what role would you think you can play to, harness that, harness the talent, or maybe you have two or three other. Okay, so let me just put this in perspective. I don't know if you've heard of Tunde Onakoya.
The chess guy.
Yes. You know, he started from the slums.
Yep.
This is a single man that is actually, you know, moving mountains when it comes to chess.
Yes.
You know, the government, before the government came in and before he started getting a lot of media exposure, he was doing something. So that is why I'm putting it across as a question. What can people like you and I do, you know, to enhance, you know, sports development?
Okay, well, people like me, when we that in the administrative side, we can only do organizing.
Okay.
We can only organize. That's the least or the much we can do. Then the funding we need the help of the media to fund, because at the end of the day, like I said, if the organizers organize and the media is not talking about it, then how are the businesses, the corporate companies going to get involved?
I understand what you're saying, right? Now, before the media gets involved, I have to speak for the media,
Okay.
because I am part of the media.
Sure.
Before the media gets involved, there has to be some kind of proposals. Now, in your line of business or in your work experience, have you put up any proposal to say, hey, Signature TV or whatever media house, we are organizing a 2-day boxing blah 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 football competition and we want the coverage? Has that conversation ever happened in your line of
sure.
business? Tell us about it.
Okay, well, I don't know if it's proper to call names, but then there is this football competition. Currently, my company is currently organizing regional amateur championship football. It's coming up July to August. I'm in talk with one of the media houses here in Enugu.
Okay.
But then the response is not really encouraging. Though I understand why, because sometimes most people don't like getting involved with something that is starting new. They want it when it's big. But then that's why I say the media need to play a lot of role in all this, because if we keep waiting until it gets big, then what if it eventually doesn't get big, which means that dream or that idea is going to just die off. So the media need to play a very big role. The media, we have to, even sometimes in the government, they have their eyes in so many places. So the media, we help show the government that we are lacking in this place, we are lacking in this place. Please come in and help us. Then, so the media need to play a very big role. So I had a fallout with one of your colleagues, a media, and I told him that the media are not doing enough. Not just in Enugu, in Nigeria. And he was like, how? He started giving me instances of I said, no. There are some cases where the media don't wait to be paid to cover certain things. You bring the news, make it a news. There are some things that are not even news here in Nigeria, especially here in Nigeria. Crazy things that are not supposed to be news can just turn to news, because why? There is a hype around that thing. If you create the hype around that particular project, if this cup now, if you want to make this cup a news, the moment you create a hype around this cup, it becomes a news.
Because it's going back to what I'm saying. Who creates the hype?
The media helps.
How exactly?
I can only just drop this copy now. If the media doesn't get involved, there is no way this copy is going to be a news. So the media need to come in, 2 or 3 or 4. But then, like you said, I need to let the media know that I've dropped this cup. So now, when I drop this cup and the media be like, this is just a cup. How can this be a news?
Good. I like what you're saying. So go ahead.
So it's not going to be a news, because why? The media is not involved in it.
Could it be that you probably did not present it in a light that will actually make someone see it as potential news?
Well, sometimes.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's retrace our steps. Tell me about your company. I'm really curious as to what you do and how you source talents.
All right. Conning Management, the name of my company limited, is entertainment and sports agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hear agency means that you scout for talents.
Not per se, I represent talents.
Okay, so the talents come to meet you.
Yep. And I source as well. If I see exceptional talents, I meet them, I source, and I represent them. Our job basically is not really sourcing for club for them, but help them on the business side of whatever they're doing. If musicians, sports talents, we just help them on the business side. Then sports agencies as well, we help the business side of it, because there is something let me just start how I got to know about started my company. I wanted to play football. I dreamt of playing football. But along the line, I had this knee injury that prevented me from playing football professionally, though I played semi-professional though. So I was asking myself, why is Nigeria's kind of sports not even there? What's wrong? So I made some inquiries and I found out there is a gap between the organizers and then the consumers. There is a very big gap.
What do you mean by organizers and consumers?
The agency like the FA, the sports organizers, then the consumers, those that are watching.
Yes, yes.
And if you don't bridge that gap between the organizers and the consumers, you can't get the fund you are looking for.
Okay, okay.
So I did some, then I stumbled on a program, sports management.
How did you stumble on?
I was just on Google. I was just like, what? And then I saw that place. I said sports management. I just went through the course program and I saw this is what we are looking for. And I did the course a year and 6 months.
Paid course.
Paid course, yes. I did the course
Good.
a year and 6 months.
Good.
And I saw that everything that we have been taught on that program is actually what we are lacking here in Nigeria.
So can you list some of those things?
Like understanding sports has not been a leisure, but a business. So here in Nigeria, we see sports as a leisure. We see it as something to let's just relax and enjoy. But it's a very big business. It's a very strong industry. Like in US alone, sports contribute to 2% of the GDP. That is around $4.something billion annually. Sports alone. Now, if you translate, that is almost about the total GDP of Nigeria. So now imagine if a state government should actually invest in sports. You find out that sports alone can even give them what they need, because sports is something that people overlook, but it's a very big, it has a very big potential in generating revenue. Then let's call figures now. Here in Africa, we don't generate the total amount of money. Only UK alone generates in sports. The total of Africa generates per annum. Africa generates, I think, around $9.something billion, while UK alone generates around $15.something billion. So not just only Nigeria, anyways. Africa as a whole, there is a very big gap. There's a very big gap between the consumers and the organizers.
Hold that thought, eh? I'm sure this question I'm about to ask you, so many people are asking it.
Okay.
Right? We'll have our African Cup of Nations. Europe has Europa, yeah?
Yeah.
The
UEFA, the Premier League, yes.
How difficult is it? Because you're just calling the numbers and it's intriguing. So how difficult is it for us, you and I, forget the government, forget the media for a second, because you went ahead to do your paid course and the government had nothing to do with it, media had not. You developed yourself by yourself, you developed your company by yourself. So how difficult can it be for sports managers such as yourself, sports developers such as yourself, to look at the templates? Let's just use football. I'm not taking sports. Let's just use Premiership. Take the template, business template of Premiership, and maybe come and put it in one, maybe Transekulu football tournament or group. You know, those I used to see even UNTH football. You know, those things, they don't exist anymore. Can it be a project of yours to take the template? Because you said it's a business, it's not just leisure. Yeah. Now you know that many people don't. So how difficult is it to just adapt the business template of, you know, these foreign companies? Even if it's a club abroad that is on relegation, they are doing obviously better than, you know, what we have down here, and then just replicate it in just a sporting unit, a football club, not the, you know, national football clubs, just the local football club in, you know, in here in Nigeria. How difficult is it?
I will tell you, it's very difficult.
Please tell me.
Actually, the regional amateur championship football is running on same templates with that of a Premier League. But then, here in Nigeria, there is this problem we have as individuals. We always look at the immediate gains. We don't look at the bigger picture. We don't look at 5 years. Most of our business plans here in Nigeria is all about next year. We don't look at 5 years. We don't look at 10 years. We don't look at 50. We don't even look at the continuous sustainability of that
No
business.
sustainability plan.
That's why Ponzi scheme is rampant here in Nigeria, because once you tell someone, if you give me 1,000 today, tomorrow you get 10,000. But if you tell someone, give me 1,000 today, next year you get 5,000, the person will be like, any kanji kayemi. So the regional amateur championship football is running on the same template with Premiership.
Tell us.
Okay, the competition is only about grassroots football clubs. Clubs that are NLO level, almost the lowest level of football and below. Now, what I did, or how I organized it, is that after registering, each team, I'm going to live stream.
After you registering,
the team registers.
Okay.
If the team registers and they compete.
Okay, the team registers with your company.
With the company, yes, to participate on the competition. Each year, you get a certain percentage of every revenue that comes in from live streaming the games on the entire. I mapped out 30% for the teams, then 20% for the organizers, then 20% for the football association, for the Enugu State Football Association, then another 30% for any contingency that comes out. But then, do you know that currently we are supposed to be 16 teams to play. We have around just 6 teams that have registered, and this competition is coming up July. At this point, we should have already gotten the 16 teams we need. Now, do you know why these teams are not registering? If they ask how much is the prize, I will say first position we have 600,000, second position 400,000, third position 200,000, and then each team have, I think, around consolation prizes of participation. Then at the end of each year, it's not just about that season. Each year, the one that the commission you participated in, you are going to get around 1% of any revenue you got from live streaming. To them, they are not even looking at that revenue that is coming lifetime. They are looking at that immediate 500, 200, and to them it's small, because they probably have heard about the 10 million competition, the 5 million competition. To them it's, what am I going to do with 400,000? What am I going to do with 200,000? Forgetting that over time, 2.5% that you may not even be playing again can actually give you something bigger than 10 million over time, because so long as the company exists, the money is coming to you. But they are not looking at that. They are looking at that immediate gain. So that is the problem here we have in Nigeria, and it's not just all about sports people. I think it's something common.
It's a mindset thing. Now,
yes.
Did you do some sort of SWOT analysis? What are some of the strengths? What are some of the opportunities? Because you have mentioned some of the challenges and the threats. But before we get to strengths and opportunities, how do you plan to mitigate these threats? Because it's something that is outside of your control that is threatening, the survival of the business.
Yeah.
So how do you plan on changing people's mindset? Because like you mentioned, when you're starting something off, people are skeptical, especially down here.
Yeah.
They don't even want to be part of it. But blow now. You see people writing you email, this is
I want
call,
to
I want to participate.
Yeah.
I know I have a calling in this area. So what is your plan to mitigate or to change the minds of people towards seeing the venture as a worthy venture?
Well, I think what I'm going to use is just patience, because I understand Nigeria. I think I've got to understand Nigerians. I intend to not rush the competition, no matter what. If I don't get the actual number I need, it won't kick, because without that actual number,
information will be
everything will just. So I have people like, let's just start. I say no, I can't just start. I don't just want to just start. If I start, it's going to give me a proper platform, foundation to push. Because if I just start with 6, how can this 6 give me what I want? So what I'm going to do is, what I told them I'm going to do is, if that sees even insists that they won't even compete, I will say fine. I will still go on sourcing what I'm doing until I know at a point those seeds will come back begging that they want to play. But then they will still play, because the aim is not actually to show anybody that this thing can work. It's actually to develop football, grassroots football. Because at the end of the day, if your grassroots football is not well developed, then there is no way the professional side is going to develop. Because look at it, here in Nigeria, you hardly see a real 18 years child playing professionally.
True.
There is this football age syndrome going on here in Nigeria. Someone at 32 will be claiming 18, and it's killing our sports. It's killing our football. We might see it as a survival means, but then it's killing the game. Because back in 2016, Marcus Rashford, at 17, almost 18, in his last equivalent of SS3, he scored his debut goal against Midtjylland, 2 goals against Midtjylland, someone in SS3, playing for Manchester United professionally. Then, I think a week or 2 weeks later, he played against Arsenal and also scored. At the during the post-match interview, they asked him, how are you going to celebrate? And he said, I don't know. All I know is that I have an assignment to write and a test to write.
He's still in school.
He's still in school. Now you can imagine, let's call it 18, it's an 18 years old kid playing professionally. Now, I don't think it can ever happen here in Nigeria currently. So we just need to develop the grassroots, because if you develop this grassroots, these children, they start getting seeing this money and then start feeling professional at the tender age. They develop faster, because at that time they are impressionable. But whenever they turn 22, it becomes difficult to change their mindsets.
All right, tell us about, because in every facet of existence and endeavor in Nigeria, there's the issue of corruption. How has corruption hampered sports and youth development in Nigeria, given your experience in the field?
Well,
Remember, we have certain stakeholders in view. We're talking about government, media, UNI, corporate bodies, right? So, in all this, interplay, how has corruption affected youth and sports development in Nigeria?
Well, I think it has to do more about the infrastructure side from the government. And like on the government side, you have to do about infrastructure, because you see them calling figures. We mapped out 10 billion to do a stadium. We mapped out 50 billion. And you look at the thing, they call this figure, and you can't even see anything. The immediate past governments, I've forgotten the figure they called that they used in fixing the Nnamdi Azikiwe stadium. And then you go there and you see that, where is the money? Where did the money? What did they even use the money on? So these are where corruption plays from the side of the government. Then when you come to the side of the media, it's not really about corruption, it's about understanding how the business works. The media house I met about this current project, I told them, I said, okay, see, normally you're supposed to pay me to broadcast this competition. That's how it works. Yeah, normally the media house is supposed to pay to broadcast.
What are they paying you for exactly?
For the content.
Okay, so how does it translate to funds for them?
For them, okay, now. Premier League generates, I think, around 2-point-something billion
over there.
Or
in Nigeria?
Over there.
Okay.
Super Sport, actually.
Okay.
They pay that amount to show you this Premier League you are watching.
Yes. And
now, the Premier League is not actually a UK government.
European?
No, Premier League is a private business, actually. Premier League is a limited.
Really?
Yeah. This Premier League you're hearing, Premier League is not even a government company. Premier League is a private, just like this regional match of championship football. It's a private business. But then there is an understanding, just like I told you, I brought the kind of their business model. Now, you pay them to distribute their competition. You know.
The media houses pay Because
All
they
this
are
money, this figure you are hearing
because
is
they have become profitable.
yes. All this figure you hear me calling, the media houses pay it.
Okay.
Then they generate some from what do they call ticket sales. Because at the end of the day, the organizers will have some percentage from the tickets the team sold. But the major money, the major fund is coming from media houses. So I told the media house that normally you're supposed to pay me to distribute or to broadcast this competition. But because we are all starting this thing, we want to see how it's going to work. Don't pay me. Just take it, the content free, distribute, do whatever I want to do with it. What I just need is, let it be like a partnership. We are partnering to organize this competition. You do your part, broadcast, any revenue you get from it, use it, hold it, while I source for my own side. Because if the media is talking about it, and if I meet a corporate body and I'm like, okay, see, this competition is coming up and it's going to air on a signature TV, they will be like, okay, I think the audience is down there. How much do you need? I get my own. Then the media on their own side, the media has, let's use signature TV as an example now, we'll be like, okay, we have a content which definitely, because football is something that the moment you say football, many people want to watch it. Then you go and your marketers will now go and meet other people and say, we have this content that is going to be airing so and so day. We want you to sponsor. They pay you to sponsor, then they place ad. We don't want to know, like how I model this, I don't want to know how much you make. I want that amount you are making be the base. When you see the amount, the potential, that's when I want to say, okay, now you've seen the potential of this competition, so now let's talk figures.
All right. So where rather do you see your company in the next 3 years, 5 years, and how profitable do you think you would have become by that time?
I am someone that is very realistic. This sports industry is, I would call it is something almost unknown to many people here in Nigeria. Even though we love sports, but the business side of it is relatively unknown. Most of us don't really know how the business, not just even about the audience, some even administrators don't even know exactly how sports team or how they generate fund. Is to them, they think the government is. That's why
yes.
I'm against this part. Currently, like I do tell people that I don't even like the idea of government funding any team. I told one journalist that left for me, I would tell the government to hands off every football club. Go and source for your fund. If you source for your fund, you will find that sports become sustainable. And I use the Rangers as an example. I know the government is actually funding Rangers. Now, imagine if government pulls off the fund, how will Rangers sustain itself? Government don't sustain any football club where it's working. You don't sustain it. You source for your own fund. So now when government gets involved, that's when corruption comes in, because any governor that comes in, we want to put his own person there. You see, now when he puts it doesn't matter if the person is working or not. Just let him just be there. They'll just use that position as a kind of compensation. So these are the things that we need to fix here in Nigeria. Government should just take themselves off.
But don't you think it should be done in piecemeal rather than in one fell swoop? Don't it crash this already?
Yes, I'm not suggesting
pre-comatose.
No, I'm not suggesting just something to just do one. Okay. It's suggesting gradually. Okay. It's a gradual process. But first of all, how do you do it? Look for someone that actually knows the business. And that's why I always commend Amobi. He knows the business. I think from what I've seen, he studied sports management. It's not just all about playing as a professional. It's about knowing the business side. And I think he studied because he's doing his possible best. And I noticed the government is actually withdrawing fund.
Okay, great. Now, if you look at UK sports development, you would also notice that they have a system or a pipeline that sources for talent scouts. They even have a program in high schools and colleges even set scholarships for those who play. Well, in America, those who play football, what they call American football. Now, do you think it will do Nigerian sports development a world of favor if they're able to set up a system or a pipeline that goes down to the grassroots? You mentioned grassroots, to scout, for these talents, and then form groups, and using football as an example, form, football groups that can eventually feed into your scheme. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
because you did mention that you're not really into talent hunt. But then in the UK and in the US, they source for talent. So how do you see this playing out positively for your program?
The thing is that in sports, it's a very vast field, and then it's just like in every business. Then you have different segments. They have the scouts. We have the agents. Agent is different from scout, but then here in Nigeria, everything is the same. That is just the problem we're having here. Then we have the sports managers.
I know these people exist. I'm just saying, are they working? Is there a system?
The thing is,
then if they're not working, how do you see your organization taking up this strategy to feed into your activity, into your program? Because you did say, sorry to cut you short, you did say that you're finding it difficult to get already existing infrastructure, talking about the teams to feed into your program. But if you decide to step down a little bit and form a system or a pipeline that sources talent, maybe if you get up to 11, 12 players, you
make a team.
Yes. How do you see that playing out? I'm sure you must have thought about it.
Yes,
am I giving you?
No, I've actually thought about it.
I don't give you.
No, wait. I actually thought about it, but then it's going to cause this clash of interest.
Why? How?
Because then you might end up having a favorite team.
Is it going to have a favorite team?
Yes, of course.
When there's a system to throw up the winner.
If I myself, you asked if I, my company myself, decide to get these teams and then register it into the, and then at the end of the year, you might have a favorite team. Because you might see this guy, you like his kind of football, you like the kind of football, and you put them in one team. Automatically, that team becomes your favorite.
But should you be the only one calling the shots? Don't you have like a team?
Yes,
and then and balances?
And then when your team now have, or everybody now have their own favorite teams.
Okay, so let's talk about professional players, football players. We're trying to use football because we can't cater to all the sporting events. Where is Nigeria missing it? Why are we losing our talents? And what can be done? I know it's a whole lot, but try to take it one at a time.
Okay. Where we are losing our talent is actually the money aspect. The money moves. We go where the money is. At the end of the day, it's all about the money.
Isn't that the same thing with our counterparts in the West?
Yeah, even them, at the end of the day, it's all about the money.
It's all about the money. Today, someone is in Arsenal, the next day is in...
So now, if as a footballer, you are being paid, you are told you'll be paid, let's say, 200,000 naira per month, and then you played for January, you were paid, February, you were paid, March, no pay, April, no pay, May, no pay, and then June, and then another team comes in and say, okay, let's even use South Africa, comes in and say, okay, we are going to pay you 500,000. You as a footballer, where will you go? Definitely, you go for the team, 500,000 naira. Because it's not even all about if the 500,000 is almost the same, because you'll be paying tax and every other thing. It's about how are you being paid? Is it steady? Because owning a footballer is something that it demoralizes footballer. When a footballer comes in this month, he says, no money to pay you this month, or you go live on next month. And then maybe that next 2 months is not even coming, and you begin to feel what am I even doing here? You start look. You ask your manager or your agent, I beg, look for another club. Even if na many I won't go, no matter. Just find anything for me. So, but if the money is coming steady, I think most people will stay. Then even better if it's even bigger. So it's all about us as a people, then the media helping, like I said, because the content is already there. But how is the media talking about it? Are they creating a hype around this thing to make we, the consumers, to get interested in want to watch our football, our professional football? Go to the stadium tomorrow, you find that half of it is empty, except, that's why I commend Okulora, except whenever he intervenes. But anytime he is not talking about it, the football, the Ranger Stadium is almost empty, and it's not good. So, but because aside him and few of us, most people, those that are supposed to be talking about it, is not talking about it.
I want to give you an opportunity to say something. Now, you as a sports development guru, you want to be paid at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The players, they want to be paid at the end of the day. What would be that one value proposition you will make to a media house that will make them want to key into this dream and hype your agenda? What would just one? Just give me one that according to Italians, make them an offer they can't refuse. So tell me, what would be that value proposition to the media house?
Okay. Every sport events, I want to use every sport events. At the end of the day, we have a target audience, and then that target audience will help generate funds for both the media house and the organizers. Which, at the end of the day, the money is where all of us wants to go to.
All right, I'll let you off. Although you didn't give me the numbers, you were talking numbers the other time, and I was intrigued. You didn't give me numbers, we are already out of time. But I know that in due time you'll be back here and we'll talk more on this, right? Thank you so much, Mr. Ani, for your Chizoba, for your insights on this matter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Don't go anywhere. New Day continues right after this timeout.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.